Hello, everyone. Before I kick off, can we just give a massive round of applause to Bernard and Emma for their great talks tonight, and to Josh for just running such a great local event. Cheers. So I'm Joe, I'm 22, and for the last year and a half, I've been working as a front-end developer at a tiny little agency down in Leeds Dock called Sky. I'm not going to stand here and shamelessly convince you why you should join us, but if you fancy being a part of something great, just give me a shout afterwards. I'm by no means a mental health expert at all. So if any of this sounds big-headed, I'm sorry, I just have a really massive head. But there's not really a lot I can do about that. Mental health has always been a topic that has really interested me because my best friend Tom has Asperger's syndrome, and seeing some of the challenges he's overcome over the years has always really inspired me. And lots of people close to me have suffered from issues such as anxiety, depression, bipolar, suicidal thoughts. So this statistic, I'm surprised it's not higher. And what does seem bizarre to me is that we don't really talk or hear about these problems more often. We're more than happy to share the best parts of our lives, but we all seem to live in this world where we try so hard to pretend the bad things don't happen. And this leaves a lot of us feeling isolated, ashamed, and worthless. The clicker's not working again. Thanks, mate. Where's... You know, I think you did. Thank you. Cheers. With statistics like this from Deloitte's Mobile Consumer Survey, which came out last week, I think, it's easy to point the finger at tech for making these problems worse. And the general consensus at the moment is that the UK has never been so addicted to smartphones. This fear of missing out or kind of leaving us in the grip of addiction. And a lot of studies are drawing similarities with this and mental health, and we're constantly blaming and bashing tech for all of our problems. And whilst the internet's been around a lot longer, smartphones have only been around 9 years. And in those 9 years, our society's just completely grown to a different state. And this technology is so new still, and we're still learning. And our ability to connect will only continue to grow. So what do we have to worry about, right? Communication technology is constantly evolving. 71% of UK adults own a smartphone. 900 million people use Facebook Messenger every month, and 1 billion people use WhatsApp every month. We're meeting and connecting with more people than we ever have before. We have this device in our pocket that enables us to communicate to anyone, whether it's on the other side of the room or the other side of the planet, in seconds. That's 24/7 access to our friends, families, and colleagues. And that's also 24/7 access to our lovers and romantic interests. So with apps like Tinder, not only can I embarrass myself in front of the women I know, but I can also embarrass myself in front of women I haven't even met yet. And this got me unmatched in an hour, I think. Thank you. Mum, if you're watching, I'm sorry. And Dad, if you're watching, I hope you're proud. So, if we're living in a world that is so much more connected, why are people still choosing to hide their mental health problems? Why is this figure still growing? Well, there's a stigma, and there's still a worry of being judged. And a lot of us like to kind of pretend that everything's okay. And I love this. I think this is fantastic. And if you're out with a friend, and let's say you got hit by a car, so it's clear it's not going very well, but you got hit by a car and your leg's hanging off and blood's pouring down the road, you're not going to sit there and go, oh, I'm fine, don't worry, just leave me, I'll be fine. But you wouldn't do that to your mental health problems. And with 6,000 suicides in 2013, and it's one of the biggest killers in the UK, we're still choosing to ignore it. And modern life is stressful as it is. We're always connected, we're always online. And it's not really just a work-life balance anymore. It's this kind of constant balance of communication with everybody we care about. And we're having to prioritize who we want to talk to and when. And we're often faced with Satan's favorite messaging feature, which is the read receipt. And I'm sure we've all faced that at some point. And those last seen statuses, they're all horrible. And, well, just a quick show of hands, and there's no judgment at all here. Within the last month, who has pretended that they were busy or simply ignored someone, gone completely off the radar, just to avoid social plans that they've already made? Oh, come on, there's more hands than that. There's quite a lot of you. All right, so come on, keep your hands up. Come on, put them up. Right, now put your hands down if you make arrangements next week with someone and you wanted them to be upfront and honest with you. Put your hands down. That's what I thought. You're all horrible people. But I massively recommend you all read Aziz Ansari's book, Modern Romance, as well. It's an absolute eye-opener, and it's just fantastic. But Aziz is spot on. We're all worried something better's going to come along, and sometimes that thing is admittedly sitting at home watching Netflix. And younger people, this generation who've grown up with the technology, have been left with so much emotional pressure on who we connect with and when, and they have to live out these perfect lives like their idols. Like, I'm not even going to go into the idols, but I've often seen my 15-year-old sister Jess get so upset over a friend's not replying, or maybe a friend's posted on social media without her. And I get that. I think we all do. It all kind of makes us feel a little undervalued and knowing something's better than us. And frankly, it's no surprise that over the last 25 years, depression and anxiety has increased by over 70% in young people. We get so hung up on what could happen, we end up preventing something better from happening in the first place. I think we've all gone radio silent at some point. I think, although half of you put your hands up, I'm willing to bet it's probably more than that. But we all hate to be the one who's ignored. And it's an easy way out to avoid being upfront. We don't want to see their reaction, and we kind of convince ourselves it's the best thing to do to avoid hurting someone else's feelings. But in reality, this miscommunication just makes things about 1,000 times worse. It's no wonder that most of us still don't think we can talk about mental health when sometimes the people we thought we care about are too busy to reply, but maybe free enough to post a photo of their lunch on Instagram or a dog filter selfie on Snapchat. And life's just filled with so many other options, alternatives and distractions, and sometimes scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, looking at all these perfect travel blogs or hipsters doing yoga on the beach, you kind of forget these are all real people. In this environment of abundance, in a world always connected, we often take for granted who's really making an effort to communicate with us. Wait for the sigh, wait for it. I love that, it's perfect. We're so distracted, so busy all the time that we often end up ignoring the people who do make an effort to see us and communicate with us. And we stick around with the people who ignore and undervalue us because we're scared we'll miss out, when in reality these toxic relationships and friendships just end up making us lose out on something else. And I hear a lot of people say you're better off alone, but in reality you're probably just focusing on the wrong people. And it's important to remember to value these people who do make an effort to communicate with us and resisting the urge just to kind of ignore or save it for another time, and keep in mind that there's a real person on the other end. And these are the people who we should be looking out for, because right now they're looking out for us. Make sure you're there for them too. Maybe flick them a message once in a while, because it might be the message they need right now. And this is one of my old school friends, Charlie. From what I remember back at school, he was always a cheerful, funny guy. And we all see kind of selfies like this on Facebook a lot, right? And you just flick through it and think, why did I come on Facebook? It's horrible. But this caught my eye. Not just because it got 510 likes, which is insane, but because of this huge thing on the right, which I don't expect you all to read. But in summary, Charlie basically said, this is him straight after one of his counselling sessions. A session where he cried, a session where he spoke about the depressive symptoms he suffered over the years, and how much he's valued having friends and professionals to speak to and encouraging anybody to do the same. And Charlie was, again, like he always seemed like a happy guy, and it just goes to show that sometimes we don't really know what goes on in the inside. And I love this. I think it's a perfect way of raising awareness in one of the key places that causes miscommunication. And I recommend everyone to look into the It's Okay to Talk campaign, and a lot of people are doing the same thing at the moment. Reading the honesty of that post, it's kind of hard not to empathise. I'm not necessarily saying you should start sharing every single intricate detail of your life. I don't really care when you last took a dump, but it's empathy like this that drives connection and encourages people to talk. And in order with those with mental health issues to feel they can talk, they need someone to trust and understand the complexities of what they're going through. And they need empathy. The truth is, we all have a story. And this little ragamuffin is me. I was expecting more R's, but I'll take that. Winner of Great Wakering Village Fate Best Baby 1994. Thank you, cheers. Some say my life was destined for great things at that point. Oh, and I'm originally from Essex as well, sorry. That kind of ruined it a bit. So, this isn't a story I've told many people at all, let alone on a stage. And my parents divorced when I was quite young. It wasn't that young, I just wanted to show you my dungarees. But for the most of the time, it was like a normal separation. Spending time with one side of the family at the weekend and with the other side of the family most of the time. There was the odd verbal scuffle here and there, but nothing really serious from what I saw. And while I was studying for my GCSEs, I kind of messed up a little bit, and an idea came that I would switch it up, go the other way around, spend more time with the other side of the family, see the other side of the family at the weekend, just as a temporary thing, just to give me space and focus on things. But obviously the option was there if I wanted to stay, because it was my other home. Except a couple of months down the line, a job offer came up for that side of the family that would lead to this home moving to the other side of the country. And when it came to the moment of asking to move back to the other side, and I was ready to go to sixth form, I was told I couldn't. And the decision I made was permanent. The home that I'd grown up with my brother and sister was suddenly pulled away from me. And during this time, I didn't really feel like I could talk to anyone at all about it. It didn't really feel like a big problem, and I felt like a burden on everyone, including my family. And months went down the line of uncertainty, and after a night of arguments and tears, I was finally allowed back in. But for these 2 years at sixth form, it was pretty rocky, and I was depressed. I found it difficult to trust people again, and I suffered really badly from anxiety. And during this time, the one person I could speak to was my friend Tom I mentioned earlier. And it was talking to him and his family that really got me through this, because I knew they could understand how I felt, and it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. But through all of this, it got me to Leeds University, it got me to a job I love, and it got me on the stage. And being far away from all of it for a couple of years, and now it's my 5th year in Leeds, is kind of give myself and my family time to heal, forgive, and move on. It took me a while to understand, but that whole incident, as heart-wrenching as it was for me, as much as I struggled, it's a fundamental part of who I am and where I am right now. And we've all been scarred some way, and I think we all need to be a bit more mindful that we can adapt from that. We're all a product of our own experiences. We all live equally complex and vivid lives, and social media feeds are a filtered reality. It's so easy to forget we're all real people with our own stories, and no person should be left feeling alone that they can't tell theirs. So don't make time for the people who ignore you, make time for the people who truly make an effort to stay in your life, because it's these people who will need you and you may need them. Sharing your story, dropping the odd message, might provide the empathy they need, and we're connecting with more people than ever before, So start utilizing these connections. If you're struggling, and if you're ever in doubt, speak to someone, whether it's a friend, family member, colleague, or counselor. Know you're not a burden. Just remember, this is only a chapter of your whole story. And the only person more important than yourself is your future self. Thank you.